World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, November 15th, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA. Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the Eagles are ready to come off the bye week with Monday Night Football against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Sixers have opened the season 8-2 and playing good ball as they host the Celtics tonight at the Wells Fargo Center. The Flyers went 2-0 since last week while visiting Carolina tonight. They're 7-1 at this point. Not bad. There's no news on the Phillies front to speak of, and the Penn State Nittany Lions let the fans down again with another egg against Michigan.
Yeah, that's the past week in a nutshell, Bill. Lots of excitement about the Eagles, which we anticipated, and plenty of enthusiasm about our Sixers also, which we didn't really expect going into the season after, how last year ended and all the off-season drama regarding the Beard, who, by the way, is 0-5 now since joining the Clippers, and I'm kind of happy to see that.
Yeah, I don't usually root against guys once they leave. He's one that's kind of easy to root against, and that other guy, that other ex-Sixer, he's kind of easy to root against as well.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
Hey, so we have a couple first-time guests joining us tonight in the Atlantic. Eagles beat writer Brooks Kubena and 50-year Penn State football ticket holder Ed Sirianni to talk about his long journey as a PSU fan.
We love welcoming first-timers to the show, Bill, and I think we got a couple of real good ones this week, and I also think we should get it started.
Well, let's do it. Let's welcome first Brooks Kubena to Philly Pressbox Radio. Brooks, welcome.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, Brooks. Well, before we talk football, let's talk about you a little bit. You're a Houston native. You covered the Houston Texans the last couple of years. In fact, right up until mid-October. You've been on the Eagles beat for The Athletic less than a month. I believe it was exactly 1 month today that you wrote your last column for the Houston Chronicle, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Have you officially moved to the Philly area, and how are you making out so far here on the East Coast?
Yeah. I am right now in Philly. Living in a house with some hosts who are Philly locals. So without them, I'd be lost. But I'm starting to really love it around here. Grew up in Houston, was born and raised in Texas. I've lived in 7 cities in the last 10 years. That's how this business goes. So covered the Texans for 3 years, covered LSU for 3 years before that, and a hodgepodge of other things before then. But when I got to Philly, I wanted to join the Athletic and be a part of this organization to the point where this was a great opportunity. I picked this sight unseen. I'd never been to Philly before. So,
wow.
I thought I was going to play it cool when I got here, but within 2 days I'd already eaten a cheesesteak and run the rocket steps. So,
you're official then.
But yeah, it's a great city. I was just going around looking at some of the markets I like, I was seeing a lot of music venues actually around here over the time in between. There was that 10-day period where the Eagles didn't have any availabilities, and I've been looking for spots to live long term and things like that. But places like Johnny Brenda's and World Cafe Live, it's a great city, and got a great intro into the football team. The Dallas Cowboys was my first game. Whenever they went back and forth there, had a real scare towards the end, and I got to see how the Eagles so far at 8-1 have kind of lived on the edge throughout this season, and they are the best team in the NFL right now, and they got a break going into the Chiefs game on Monday, and Chiefs haven't lost on Monday night in Kansas City since 2004, but records were meant to be broken, and we'll see if the Eagles can get it done.
How did you like your first venture into Lincoln Financial Field, and you happened to get a Cowboys game? It doesn't get much better than that.
Man, when I got in, I wanted to, just find the local radio stations, and I clicked it on and rotated through. And the first thing I heard was a caller being like, the Cowboys suck, and then like played like a song. I don't know if there's an actual song, but it was like Cowboys suck, and then I wanted to walk around the tailgate, so I got there early, and my hosts were out there, and they knew some folks that had one, and just walked around. I was like, man, so the Texans in the last 3 years haven't been great, and Houston loves its football. Don't get me wrong. But whenever they started losing, there was some protective dormancy going on, and walking around that tailgate, seeing people come into the stadium, the way they acted throughout the entire game, it felt, I've covered college football before, and it felt like, there was certainly a presence there throughout the night, and so yeah, it was an experience for sure.
So the Eagles are 8-1, as you mentioned, but I think they only have 1 or 2 double-digit wins. As you said, they've kind of been skating by with a lot of close games. And there are concerns. People always seem to focus on the negative, unfortunately. But one of the concerns for a lot of people is the secondary. Lots of different faces from week to week. It's probably been the weakest unit on the team. The Eagles are in the bottom 5 in the league in both opponents' quarterback rating and passing yards per team allowed. Are they going to improve that going forward now with Bradley Roby, we think, coming back, Keith Byard continuing to fit in? What's your view of the secondary?
Yeah, I think it's a system that they've been working through a lot of injuries for sure, and I've been looking at Sean Desai a little more closely this week going into the Chiefs, and that when losing Avonte Maddox was big for the secondary and trying to rotate that through Eli Ricks, and it wasn't working in a lot of ways, and one of the biggest mysteries when I was first studying this team and trying to catch up was they had such a good pass rush. They're getting to the quarterback, both hitting him and sacking him, and all the things that you would expect a secondary to have. It's interceptions. It's time to cover receivers and not give up so much yards per attempt. But I think having Bradley Roby in there, those 2 games that he played, there was some improvement there. That having a veteran, he's going to be able to have extra communication throughout the secondary. I think also getting Justin Evans back, he's kickstarted his 20-day window in practice after starting 4 games earlier this year, having options with him and Byard, who, it's not just who plays in the slot, but also how do you game plan to, stretch and mix your coverages too. With a guy like CeeDee Lamb last game, where they can put him inside, outside, try and find open holes for them. And it's not just the secondary either. The linebacker core has struggled in pass coverage. Out of all the NFL teams, there's a site that I've been using, True Media, that has a lot of deep analytics, and only 2 other teams get targeted more where those zones where the linebackers are than the Eagles. And we've seen, Zach Cunningham work there, and Nicholas Morrow there. Obviously now Nakobe Dean out, but no one's really been solid in pass coverage in that space. And I think those are spots that the Chiefs can exploit too. So, long answer to your question, but I don't know if there is an answer yet that really says, hey, this team is going to get better significantly in this sector until we've seen it. So. We'll see what happens once Roby got in. That's why they picked him up. And I am interested to see how Justin Evans factors into the mix now that they've made the Byard trade.
Well, over on the offensive side of the ball, I don't know about how much of this you've heard from a distance, but a lot of fans on Brian Johnson right out of the chute, and at Jalen Hurts not playing near as well as he has in the past. But here we are at midseason. We're 8-1. Leading in the statistical offensive categories are better than they were last year and the year before. But a lot of heat coming to those guys. I don't know how much better they can be than what we've seen.
When I was looking at Super Bowl contenders, I wanted to see metrics in terms of who and what is successful to win a Super Bowl. And last year, obviously, the defense was the best part of that team going into the playoffs. And then the Super Bowl, not being able to get to Mahomes in the backfield after leading the NFL in sacks. One of the things is, in terms of EPA, which is an advanced metric that basically is what's the likelihood of a team to score on any given play. If a team didn't have a top 10 defense, they needed to have a top 4 offense. And the Eagles right now have that. It's yes, I know Jalen Hurts has had some turnover issues throughout this year, interceptions, some fumbles in key situations in games that they still managed to win, and a lot due to some of the defensive effort there too. But their offense is productive. It is efficient. A lot largely to what these wide receivers are doing. A.J. Brown's having a hell of a year, and it's interesting that he's not in the MVP hunt. It's typically a quarterback-oriented award, and Hurts is right now neck and neck with Mahomes in terms of the odds makers. So I think now that Hurts, we've wondered about his knee the last couple of weeks. He's managed to work through that. He said selfishly that the bye week couldn't have come at a better time. We'll see how much he factors more into the run game, whether that expands now that Dallas Goedert is out. But this offense has largely been efficient, and I think when we hear Nick Sirianni talk about the run game and the last 5 weeks and how it's gone down into the lower 30s in terms of yards per carry, 30th amongst NFL teams. I mean, it'll be interesting to see once Cam Jurgens works his way back in, whether that really is as simple as getting movement along the interior. But even with all of those things that have happened, there's still a top 4 offense in terms of EPA, which I know doesn't, translate a lot easy to what you see on the field. But in terms of teams that won the Super Bowl the last 10 years, the Eagles have the offense necessary to do that.
Hey, you mentioned Cam Jurgens. I didn't hear any update. Is he due back this week, or how soon, or what do you know about Cam Jurgens?
Yeah, the last time Sirianni talked was 2 Mondays ago. We'll talk to again on Thursday. Just from what the conversation has been lately, saw him go in practicing towards the end of that week. There were questions whether he would be ready even as soon as the Cowboys, but was a scratch for that game. It normally, as I've covered teams and people who make that 21-day window, you're not just going to kickstart that thinking, oh, this guy's not going to be ready within 3 weeks. So you could keep someone on the injured reserve and activate them and kickstart their practice. So, it would make sense along that timeline for him to get back into the mix and possibly be ready against the Chiefs. Sirianni said that they need Cam Jurgens. They need the whole depth in the offensive line. Yeah. So just taking terms of how they talk about this and how I've seen this work out before, they wouldn't open that window, and it would be surprising to me if he wasn't in the mix to play.
Good.
Well, Brooks, I have to ask you, there's a whole lot of love for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not finding that love that much. And with Dallas, the Eagles don't seem to be getting the love from the national media and the odds makers for that matter. What is it that everybody sees in San Francisco that maybe I'm not seeing?
I think San Francisco has had a lot of good games against, some top competition. I think the Cowboys game sticks out for sure. There was a time where Brock Purdy wasn't playing as well. Now he's recovered. It is a quarterback oriented kind of situation. And now that they're back on track, I think that's why people like them. They like their defense. I mean, when you look at that, the Eagles talk about this all the time, right? If they ever have a spare draft pick or want to be able to sign somebody, they usually go towards the middle. And nobody in the NFL has really stacked up their defensive line other than the Eagles quite like that than the 49ers. So when you think about a team that can continually make a push into the playoffs, where's their depth in those key spots? And the 49ers have that. I covered the Texans, obviously, and D'Amico Ryan's coming over, and I saw their system work. And you look at how the Texans have had a revival in the last 3 weeks, and just the talent that they have, how it was maximized last year. I think it's not hard to believe that the 49ers, if they didn't lose all their quarterbacks towards the end of the postseason, they might have been Super Bowl champions last year. So there's a large part of that talent that's remaining. They get Deebo Samuel back. I think they're a challenger for sure, and a lot like the Eagles in the sense where you're like, hey, what happens once they're healthy? I think we're starting to see that football being played from the out west.
So Monday night, what do you expect from this Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl matchup? It's going to be a good one, I think.
Oh yeah, I I think it's going to be a close one. I like to see how the Eagles handle a very different Chiefs offense in some ways. They don't have the depth at receiver that they did last year. And maybe that helps out a little bit with the secondary issues. But again, having Travis Kelce in the mix where they've struggled in that middle zone in terms of defense, I think the Chiefs are going to get their yards. I think they're going to get their touchdowns. I think we're going to have to see whether this run game for the Eagles can play an influence in time of possession, where they can control the clock in key situations. The last 4 minutes against the Cowboys, they went stagnant through 3 drives. It's going to be another one of those games that tests whether this team really is a Super Bowl contender, can win these games. I think it's a very tough place to win, and I think the Chiefs coming off a bye themselves, I think it's a toss-up at this point. So I'm really expecting all those things to be tested. I don't know which way it's going to go. So, but coming out of that, the Eagles will have a better understanding of whether those questions that they had entering this game really are problems, or if there's ones they're going to be able to manage in the long run.
What do you think of the schedule that they've had? And they can't win them all. I think we all know they can't win them all, but we've been through Miami, been through Dallas, we have Kansas City, we got San Francisco in there. We got, there you go, the Bills, who are struggling a little bit, Cowboys again, Seahawks. Realistically, how many of these games can you win?
Let's say they go 3-2 in the next 5 games. They'd still, in my opinion, finish with, 3 losses on the year, because you finish out with the Giants, Cardinals, and Giants again, and those teams have not been playing very well. So you end up being the number 1 seed again. So it's pretty favorable for them in this situation. And Bills right now, it's when a team's fighting for its life in a lot of ways. I think that's also an interesting game to me, because also I covered LSU. So at the time in 2019, their surge in offense was a large part to how Joe Brady, who was the passing game coordinator at the time, but had a big influence on Joe Burrow's surge into the Heisman and the national championship that year. He's now the interim offensive coordinator for the Bills that need things to happen. So, look, I think the 49ers game is going to be certainly interesting. The Bills game could be a little bit more tricky than you'd expect with a team that might have some tendency changes just because they need them, and they've had talent. But I don't think they go with a losing record over those 5 weeks. And again, you end with Giants, Cardinals, Giants, and I don't think anybody would pick the Eagles to lose any of those games unless they're benching a significant amount of players. So starting 8-1, that's what's great about that. You can end up having the number 1 seed and having a close to 500 finish.
Brooks, I have to ask this, but forgive me. How many times will Taylor Swift's name get mentioned Monday night? We hear that her parents and the Kelce parents are going to be there in Kansas City. I imagine we're going to see them on screen at least, 7 or 8 times?
I think that might actually be a conservative estimate.
Yeah.
That's per quarter.
And the thing is, too, whenever I got this job, if I had a nickel for any friend of mine that was a girl or was not really that interested in terms of football or whatever, they're all like, hey, so go talk to Jason Kelce, and then they're going to play the Chiefs. Like, seriously, I'm like, all right, well, at least there's a contingent of friends that are now interested in what I do. So, you got to take that for what it is.
That's funny. Well, hey, Brooks, we're about run out of time. Let everybody know where they can find what you've got going on, your social medias, all the stuff with the Eagles that you're working now.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at BKUBENA, and on theathletic.com. You can find all my work there. We're going to have some stuff ramping up here leading up to Monday Night Football. So it's been a little quiet. I've tried to get some stuff out there the last couple of weeks just to produce some work and some of the things that I'd been thinking about before, but you can find out all there. I'm really excited about some of the in-depth stuff that I've got working on, some research. So you can find all that stuff there at theathletic.com.
And if you need any music tips, hit me up, Brooks.
He's the music man, Brooks. Music, and he likes beer too.
Okay.
Oh, a lot of beer. Definitely beer.
Yeah. No, I saw the Paper Kites on Friday, which was awesome. And then there was a band last night, the Half Moon Run. which was they were brilliant. Some of the best musicians I'd seen in person for a while.
All right, we'll talk.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Brooks.
Well, hey, welcome to Philly, pal.
Hey, appreciate it.
All right, don't be stranger.
See you.
See you guys.
All right, Chet. Winter is coming fast. Gas prices have dropped. Matter of fact, I wanted to tell you because you mentioned this last week. $2.61 in Georgia this weekend, and across the Florida line it was $3.09. But it's better, and you could save even more money.
$3.05
with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, that's right. That is correct, Bill. Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance plan puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. In Westchester, Pennsylvania, that is Dave Lavoie. And by the way, in addition to auto insurance, Dave's Allstate office also offers home and renters insurance, life insurance, business insurance, and more. Allstate in Westchester. Call Dave Lavoie at 610-430-0700. Again, 610-430-0700.
Hey, Chet, tell me why you're out and about and saving money that gives you more money to spend at the Irish Rover Station House. What's going on over there?
Well, always lots happening at the Irish Rover, Bill. You know that. And this week, rather than the usual Thursday through Sunday dinner specials, they are doing their annual Friendsgiving celebration with a Thanksgiving-themed sharing menu and cocktails to match. So that is this Thursday through Sunday. You can see what's going on there with all sorts of goodies. Check that out. There's also live music on the weekends this Saturday. The tunes come courtesy Rachel and Tyler. And folks, you know that I love this one. It's been just announced yesterday, the Irish Rovers annual Ugly Sweater Party, Thursday, December 14th. You know that I will absolutely be there, and I will be uglier than ever. I'm going to be shopping for a new ugly sweater this weekend, as a matter of fact. Always a good time. Great food and drinks at the Irish Rover on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. Details on their website, irishroverstationhouse.com.
Hi, football fans. This is Merrill Reese, and you're listening to Bill and Chet on Philly Pressbox Radio. It's good!
I got to tell you, I'm sure you've got a big old circle around that date for the ugly sweater, and you got a whole closet full of them. So
I do.
You know, maybe what you should do one of these before the date is show some of them on the show and let the viewers pick which one is the ugliest for you.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited. In fact, I messaged our contact at the Irish Rover, Chris, yesterday morning before she even announced it. I said, Chris, let me guess, ugly sweater party, the second Thursday in December 14th. She got back to me, said, yes, sir. So then she put it out on social media. Yep, on my calendar.
All right, hey, let's talk Sixers for a few minutes. They can continue their great start. They're 8-2 after the split with the Pacers last night. They host the Celtics tonight, who they beat just last week. Bit of coming out party for that Tyrese Maxey so far.
Well, Maxey's been terrific. A career-high 50 points on Sunday. He's doing great as the full-time point guard, replacing the Beard. Struggled with his shooting just a bit in the Tuesday night loss to the Pacers, but still scored 27 anyway. The good news is he's running the offense really, really well. Minimal turnovers, just over one per game, I believe, so that's great to see. And as you and I discussed, we knew this back-to-back with the Pacers and Celtics was going to be tough. I had a hunch they would lose at least one of the two. They lost one last night. They may lose another one tonight, but that doesn't mean I'm, giving up on them. I knew this was going to be a tough little stretch right here. Still, they are playing hard, playing well, and they are lots of fun to watch.
Yeah, I'd like to see a split from last night tonight. Last night they didn't get. Hopefully they can get this one and, stay hot.
I think Jaylen Brown's out for Boston, another guy as well. And Joel Embiid, of course, a game-time decision as he's going to be in all back-to-backs, they said. So I don't know if he's in the lineup or not, but I know you'll love that.
Be in the lineup against Boston. Yeah. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I would love to see another win, but they are fun to watch. And I think they're going to be in contention right up until, the second round of the playoffs, and then who knows?
Right.
We're going to be talking about this all season long. How far can they go?
Yeah, hey, I have to ask you, what's this story going on with Kelly Oubre?
That is very interesting.
Is very interesting for those that don't know. It just broke this afternoon, I guess, and it's on the TV and it's on the social media. So I'm guessing it's for real that the police are having trouble finding any video of the hit and run that supposedly took place that injured Oubre, and they're thinking it could be something else.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying they're not seeing any firm evidence that this happened where he said it happened. So either he's mistaken as far as the location, or perhaps he's lying, making the whole thing up. There's some other rumors out there that maybe it was a domestic thing. So, boy, I hope that's not the case. I don't know. All we know is the police said they don't have any evidence that this happened where and when he said it happened. So stay tuned, as they say.
Yeah, and I hope, for his sake and for the team's sake, it doesn't hurt them moving forward if this turns out to be something serious. And he didn't tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I hope that's not the case.
Yeah, and they do miss him in the lineup too, because he was averaging over 16 points a game. So, yeah, hopefully this will all come out and that he'll be okay physically. And I hope that he was telling the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't pass this by without mentioning Joel Embiid. He's playing pretty incredible again.
Yes, he is. Again, on an MVP kind of pace. I mentioned that at the top of the show, PJ. James Harden 0-5 as a Clipper. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So, hey, let's move on. Let's give a shout out to all our shows over at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The gang has all the bases covered, as they always do. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show on the Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel. Check that out. Hit those subscribe, follow, like buttons, and as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see, we are loaded up all week long, already planning for Monday Night Football. There'll be all kinds of action that night as well. Pre-game, halftime, post-game, everything on next Monday as well. So we're loaded, got it all covered. Check us out, Edge of Philly Sports Network.
And yeah, as you said, please subscribe, follow. We got lots of followers already on YouTube and our Facebook page. So keep them coming. We'd love to get up to 400 subscribers on YouTube before year's end. And before we go to our PSU guy, Bill, let's hear from our attorney.
All right, guys, let's talk about Cherry Law Firm. If you get hurt at work in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or affected by criminal law, you got to call David R. Cherry of the Cherry Firm. Call 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your rights. Again, that number is 610-565-0300. That's 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your right.
Well, hey, Chet, it wasn't a happy day in Happy Valley for us Saturday, but it was a tremendous milestone for our next guest, and we're going to talk to him all about it. Let's welcome Ed Sirianni to Philly Press Box Radio. Ed, welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, Ed. Good to see you. We talked a little bit on the phone before the show. So much to talk with you about, so let's get to it. Let's go back to the beginning. Like me, you're a Schuylkill County guy. I grew up in Mahanoy City. You grew up in New Philadelphia, not too far away. When and how did you become a Penn State fan?
Well, it's pretty easy to answer that question. It's Joseph Vincent Paterno. That's how. Yes,
yeah,
I admired him. I admired him all for always.
Gotcha.
So Ed, this started in 1982, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's 500 consecutive home and road games. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I guess an obvious
it's been a long road.
People are going to ask, what did you do during COVID? Because they weren't letting people in. So how did you get around that with your streak?
I went to all the games, and I watched the game on their screen and listened to the radio. So no, the Big Ten. I talked to the Indiana. That was the first game of the year. I talked to the athletic director, and no, there's just no breaking of that rule. So
Okay.
they're basically asterisks. And then,
But you were there.
Yeah.
You still went to the site. That's pretty wild.
Yes.
Well, hey Ed, let me find it, see if I can find his. Well, ask Ed. This is from Kid Camden. Ask Ed, who's the best Penn State player that he's ever seen?
Wow.
You got a lot to choose from.
Yes, I know. There are, particularly in defense, but I'd have to say Barkley. From the first moment I saw him in a running situation, I could tell he just had it. You're not taught that, the feeling. I used to be a running back, and it's just something that you have, and no one's giving it to you. You just know when to jump, when to fake one way, when to fake another way, and he had it. So yeah, I would think it's Barkley.
Hey, you've mentioned you've gone to 500 straight games. How about your wife Cheryl? Does she go to all the games with you?
Yes, she does. There was one occasion that I had a hard time finding a away ticket at Ohio State, and in the last 5 minutes, she found one ticket. So she had to stay back, and I went in to see the game. But other than that, since we got married at the 50-yard line during the Buffalo game in 2007, yes, she didn't know anything about football, but she married into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, you've been part of the 82 national championship team, I guess, the 86 national champions, the 94 undefeated team,
Yes.
and some others. Favorite team, favorite player? There was other good teams besides the ones that won the national championships too.
Oh yes, the 94 team was a scoring machine.
Yeah.
The beginning of the season was the first game was at Minnesota at the old Metrodome, and I sat there and I was looking down at the plays, and all I could see was the Minnesota defense on the ground, and our running backs just doing a moonwalk into the end zone. I didn't know what kind of a team we were going to have, but then I saw throughout the year they were unstoppable. Yeah.
With the Fiesta Bowl, I believe, January 1st, 1992, you've really gotten to travel quite a bit. I showed the picture earlier. This was the game in Dublin, Ireland, I believe.
Yes.
Something earlier. How many miles and train miles and everything have you traveled?
The driving is 329,000 miles. The air flights are between 14 and 15,000 miles, and the train
flight's 33,905.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay,
the train's 4,180. You said.
Yes.
That's a lot of miles.
I took any mode I could.
So Ed, when you say you're going, you mentioned Minnesota. Let's say Minnesota, and they're playing a Saturday noon game in Minnesota. What's your travel itinerary? When do you go? How many nights are you on the road, and when do you get back? And I assume you had a job somewhere in the last 40 years.
Yes, I did. And in all the jobs and companies I worked for, the primary thing was before the season starts, I have working for each other for shifts. And if I had to be working on a Saturday, and sometimes I did, I'd have to get somebody to work for me. So that's how that went down. Yeah.
And our mutual pal, Tom, tells me that for your birthday last May, he set up a surprise phone call for you from whom?
It certainly was a big surprise. He came, we were all by the dining room table, and he came down the steps with his laptop, and then he put it on the table, and he says, "Now everybody look at the laptop," and there was Jay Paterno. He's wishing me my 74th happy birthday.
Nice.
Yes, it was.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Hey, so you just mentioned you're 74. Any you slowing down any? You planning on you got plans for the next couple of years, especially a lot of travel now to the West Coast with the new big whatever conference format going on.
Yes. It's at some point, sometimes if we're going to drive, I mean, it'll take us, 2.5 days to drive out, and 2.5 days if we have a home game, 2.5 more days to drive back. But yeah, that's exactly how it's going to go down. Yeah.
All right. So Ed, this is what happened last Saturday out in Happy Valley at Beaver Stadium.
Joining us as our hometown hero is Ed Sirianni from Schuylkill County, PA. Ed is a U.S. Air Force veteran who served in the Vietnam War from 1968 to 1972. He's an avid Penn State football fan, and he and his wife Cheryl are ushers at Beaver Stadium and have been working games for over 10 years. Today's game on Veterans Day marks Ed's 500th consecutive Penn State football game. Please help us in congratulating Ed on his milestone and for his service to our country and Penn State community.
You look pretty happy there, Ed.
Yes, I was. I never imagined in in a million years that I'd be in that kind of an arena. No.
You know, when you think about it, 500 Saturdays, 500 Saturdays in the fall, it's staggering to think of everything that goes into being able to make that happen. I wonder, have you ever heard from anyone else, not at Penn State probably, but anywhere that has that kind of streak going for any team, or are you kind of at the top of the heap?
Well, I did read, I believe it was Southern Cal. He, and this is a little scary, but I think he had, I think it was more than 500, and it ended in the parking lot. He died in the parking lot going into the game.
Oh,
yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, don't let that happen.
I won't be surprised if that happens with me too, but we'll see.
And we need to, speaking of unpleasant things, we need to get your take on James Franklin, who has not fared well in his 10 years as head coach against Michigan, Ohio State, and other ranked teams. We could put the numbers up, but you've been there, so you know he has not fared well. What do you think of James Franklin?
Well, as everyone starts out when you speak to him, he's a fantastic recruiter. I don't know what he says to these kids, but whatever it is, it certainly works. I mean, he has the talent. You know, he can recruit the talent like nobody else that I can imagine. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems to be, you know, when it's a critical game, and I mean, we've beaten big teams in bowl games, but during the seasons in the Big Ten, it's been a long haul. But I don't know if you want to hear about this, but I don't. I'm no fan of the Big Ten officials. I mean, I was stationed out in Indiana in '68 and to the '72, and I witnessed what was going on there. And it wasn't matter to me because we didn't play those teams, but I saw that it was the Big Two and Little Eight, you know, and it's been the very first game that Michigan played at Penn State. It was late in the game, and I was, and of course I was there, and there was a critical moment, toward the end. It was a close game, and it must have been that Michigan had the ball, and then we stopped them, and the flag was thrown. And you won't believe this, but it's true. The flag was called because the crowd was too loud. There is no such penalty.
Right. Yeah.
You can scream as loud as you want. You can't throw anything or run onto the field, but you can scream as loud as you want. But at that point, the game turned, and then Michigan won. So, it's been a tough road.
Hey, Ed, I want to throw at you favorite game. I think most Penn State fans would say that Fiesta Bowl win over Miami would be their number one game. Certainly mine, and I guess some others that are really close too that I attended. Where's your favorite game?
You named it. That's it. When that game was over, it felt like I played in the game. That's how
Right.
That's how spent I was. I couldn't speak. I had lost my voice from screaming. We were a big underdog, and they walked out of a dinner that we were in, they didn't think that, we had any chance of winning, but we did.
Oh yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, you, Carol, you're both ushers now for the Penn State home games?
Yes. I started as a security at Gate B. The person I work with, Jeff Snyder, he took another person named Sam, and Sam didn't drive, but they went up, they did that. And then one day before the season started, I think it was 2003, Sam came into the computer room, and he said, "Would you like to do that? Would you like to, take my place?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, Sam. I mean, if you don't want to, I'll be glad to do it." So I did it for a year, and then the very next year, he came into the computer room before the next season. He says, "Well, Ed, you've done it for a year now. Do you still want to continue?" And I said, "Sam, I will continue until you want it back or until I die."
There you go.
So,
There you are.
and then we got outsourced, and then that's how we became ushers. Yeah, it's been about 20 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Ed, one final question for you. I have to ask. That Eagles coach, Nick Sirianni, is a Pennsylvania guy. Is there any relation between Ed and Nick Sirianni?
Yes. Yes,
What?
there is. Yeah, my dad, when I was very young, we used to drive, to the family. I wasn't even in grade school but at that time, but I remember going. Yeah, it's not a common name. When somebody first told me that the Eagles had hired a head coach named Sirianni, I says, no, that's you're just joking. It's not a very common name. So yeah.
So what do you think? Like third cousin, fourth cousin?
Yeah.
Somewhere along the line. Very
Somewhere,
cool.
yeah.
Very good. Well, Ed, I'll tell you what, we certainly appreciate you jumping on with us. Great stories. We could probably talk for a couple hours just picking your brain about different players, different games.
Sure.
thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations. Thank you for your service as well.
Thank you. Appreciate
most
that.
Importantly.
Yes.
All right.
You had fun, Ed. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Good night.
Take care, my friend.
All right, Chet. Football season's in full swing. What's that mean to Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgate?
Well, Cavs has a great menu all the time, and he's been cooking up these amazing tailgates for 30 years now, doing a great job every single home game. So all is well with Cav and company. And, I can't find my copy on this, but I can tell you that Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs also does corporate events and parties, you name it. And if you check the website, you can get all the details on the upcoming events. All Eagles home games, again, they're over by Live Casino. Look at these next few home games. You got the Bills, you got the 49ers December 3rd, and that New Year's Eve Eagles-Cardinals game. So that should be a lot of fun. Get all the details at phillytailgates.com. Check the site, and if you have any questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And as you know, Cav works with Vince at Philly Sports Trips. They're the folks who use for all the Eagles road games and more. You can get on Bird's road trips for later in the season, or join them for a Philadelphia Union trip. When they go to those, probably a Sixers game or two will be added over the winter. Check out those trips and all the other ones at phillysportstrips.com.
There you go. Some great comments and feedback from the viewers. That's pretty cool for Ed. Really is.
It is. 500 games. Hopefully he can make it to 600. That'll be another 8 or 9 years?
Yeah. 500 Saturdays in the fall is a lot of Saturdays, pal.
Yes, it is. 42 seasons now.
42 seasons. All right. Yep. Hey, it's prediction time, and things are looking very good for, two of us.
I predict I'm going to further expand my lead in the margin of victory pool every single week, Bill, the way it's going.
So far, the chips have fallen pretty well for you. But before we get into this, Bob Vitrone Jr., Boop to his friends, how are we doing from week 10 now already in both our picks and that margin of victory pool that you're going to show off on?
I can't wait to show you that. Well, regarding our regular pick and pool, you did at least pick up one game on us last weekend, Bill, thanks to your Vikings pick. You went 3-1, while Boop and I were both just 2-2. So Boop and I remain tied for the top spot at 28-13, and you are now 3 back at 25-16. And ready for week 11?
Yeah, let's do it.
What do we got?
We have Cincinnati Thursday night football. We added a couple again. Thursday night football, Cincinnati at Baltimore. The Ravens are -3.5.
All right, let's see what Boop says. Boop says, both teams fumbled away one last weekend. Looking forward to this one. Baltimore was rolling before that. Boop picks the Ravens. You know what? I just have a hunch that Joe Burrow and company are going to win this one on the road. I'm taking Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens at home in this one. Joe Burrow struggling. It's not been a good year for Joe.
He's been up and down.
Yep. Okay. We'll pick up another game. Seattle at the Rams. Seahawks -1.
Yeah, I'm surprised that's such a small line. Boop says Seattle is looking for a week 1 payback. They lost 30-13 at home against a staggering Rams team. He's taking the Seahawks. I'm taking Seattle as well.
All right, so am I.
Okay.
Giants visit Washington. The Commanders are -9.5, and my gosh, how bad are the Giants?
Wow. When Washington's favored by 9.5 over anybody, you know you're pretty bad. Boop says, combined, these teams have lost games by 34, 20, 40, 21, 24, and 32 this season. This one could be a real snoozer. Boop says, take the Commanders. I'm taking Washington as well. Nobody can take the Giants over anybody now.
No way. All right. Dallas visits Carolina. Another blowout game, probably. Cowboys are -10.5 in this one.
Boop says Carolina hasn't scored more than 17 points in a home game this season. He's taking the Cowboys. Yeah, you got to take Dallas.
All right. I think we all are taking Dallas in that one. That gets us Eagles-Chiefs Monday Night Football. Chiefs are -3 in this one.
Interesting game, certainly. Boop says neither team has displayed their A game for more than a half or so. This one could be a doozy. So he had a snoozy for the Commanders and a doozy for this one. Boop is taking the Eagles. Now, we know Boop likes both of these teams. He's taking the Eagles to win. I went back and forth on this one, and I think the Birds are somehow going to pull it out. So I think it's going to be a big night for Jalen Hurts. I'm taking the Birds.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't think since we've been doing this for 3 years, I don't think I have ever not taken the Eagles. I'm not going to take the Eagles. Yeah. Yeah, this
Kansas
is
City.
I'm taking the Chiefs.
Wow.
Andy Reid doesn't lose after buys. Andy Reid doesn't lose on Monday Night Football.
Yep.
I'm sure as heck going to root for the Eagles because. But I'm going to go Chiefs in this one.
Okay.
All right.
Hope you're wrong.
I do hope I'm wrong.
Margin of victory pool. There it is. Read it and weep, guys.
Man,
I am
it's ugly.
unbelievably 10-0, and I still haven't even used the Lions yet. So this week, Boop is taking the Commanders. Let's make sure he didn't take them yet. He did not. Boop is taking Washington to beat the Giants. That looks like a safe bet. I'm going to go with Jacksonville to beat Tennessee. I'm going to hold my Lions pick for later. So I'm taking Jacksonville this week, Bill.
You know what? I actually lost my pick. So I was quickly trying to look through this. Who are the Lions playing?
I don't remember.
Well, I'm going to tell you because I think that's who I was taking was the Lions.
Yeah, that was my second choice. I think there's somebody beatable. Chicago, maybe?
Detroit over the Bears.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll go with Detroit over the Bears.
Okay, yeah, I thought about that, but then I thought, you know what? Detroit has some other easier games coming up, so I'm going to take Jacksonville this week. I'll save Detroit. So you got Detroit. I got Jacksonville. Boop has Washington. There you go. I'm going to expand my lead again.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. All right, what do we got next? Who's coming to Philly Press Box Radio next week? We have a schedule change. Also,
we do. We're going to do our show on Tuesday next week, Bill. Did I load these pictures? I don't think I did. Well, I suck. Okay, next week we're going to be on Tuesday because it is Thanksgiving week. And as we've done the last few years, we're going to do our show Tuesday at 7 p.m., kids. So mark your calendar for that one. And we're going to have two more great guests joining us. Both of them will be on live. We had this guy on back in September, and he had such a good time. He couldn't wait to come back again. It is the author of this book, The NFL Off Camera, Bob Angelo, who worked for NFL Films for decades. He told me some great stories when I interviewed him a couple of months back, and I look forward to you getting to talk to him, Bill. He is excited about coming back on the show, believe it or not. How about that?
Well,
our second guest.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be good. He's good. Our second guest is a guy we had on about this very same time 1 year ago. That is Jordan Spector. He is the sports artist who keeps churning out great art, including some new ventures with Eagles great Brian Dawkins. So Jordan Spector will be on the show live next week. So two great guests again, Bill.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Jordan Spector's art, Google it or Facebook it or whatever. I got all of his stuff. I got a bunch of different things.
I have the Sixers one. I'm going to get the Eagles one this year.
So. I have the Eagles one and I have the Sixers one. So they're really nice. Really nice. All right, Chet. Hey, we're going to squeeze in a little Flyers talk. I realize it's only mid-November, but they're 7-1. Early season thoughts. It looks like Carter Hart could be back soon. He had a back injury. You know, they don't give you injuries in NHL. Yeah. But then he was ready to be back, and he had food poisoning out in California. Ate some bad fish, apparently, and that kept him out of several games out there. He is questionable for tonight. That game's probably underway, so I don't know if he is playing or not. But there was a chance he could be in the net tonight.
Yeah, and it's funny. They lost last Wednesday, I believe, to San Jose, who was the worst team in the league. They were winless, and then they come back and win the Friday and Saturday night games against better teams. So good for the Flyers. Haven't really watched a whole lot of them yet, but they're, hanging right around 500, which is, not bad, but still a long way to go, certainly.
Yeah. Interesting, right from the start several years ago, Morgan Frost was a guy that I was really interested in watching because he was such a tremendous goal scorer when they drafted him. And he seems to spend more time in Tortorella's doghouse these days. He got to finally play the other night, scored 2 goals.
Yeah, he had a nice wraparound goal, didn't he?
Yeah. So maybe Morgan Frost breaks out and turns into what we think he could be. Hart is playing, and it's 1-0 Flyers, according to RJ. Thank you, sir.
There you go. And one other Flyers note while we're talking about him. Rest in peace, Roman Cechmanek, just 52 years old. How about that?
52 years old.
Did they mention the cause of death? Because I didn't hear anything.
I did not see it anywhere. Nope. So anything else you want to squeeze in before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I wanted to say congratulations to this guy, John Kincaid of 97.5. He has had cancer 3 times over the last 28 years. This time around colon cancer, but he announced on a show Tuesday that he is again cancer-free. We'll still need one more treatment, I believe, but he's going to get to ring the bell, and that's great to hear. Good guy, real good on the radio, so way to go, John Kincaid.
Absolutely. Anybody that beats that cancer is good for them.
Yeah, a little self-promotion, Bill. Thursday night, 10 p.m. I'm going to be joining Patrick and the other old heads on their podcast talking about not sports, but slasher films. They know I love horror films, so they're going to have me on with them. 10 o'clock Thursday night, somewhere, wherever you can find these podcasts and video things. We'll promote it tomorrow.
Well, cool. And if you want to listen to some college football talk, I will be on the Out of the Box Sports Entertainment channel right after this at 8 o'clock talking college football. That's one of my favorite topics, so you can check that out as well.
Speaking of which, how depressing was that Penn State game? I had the Monster Mania thing last Saturday, so I DVR'd the game. I watched some of it on Sunday, but, after the first period, it was just awful to watch Penn State.
Yeah, Chet, it doesn't – I watch these games, and I'm a fan. It doesn't bother me if they win or they lose or when they lose or whatever. It bothers me when they don't play well. Yeah. When you didn't think you saw the best they had to offer. And that's what I saw again against Ohio State and again against Michigan. And that is what makes me a frustrated fan. Last year when they lost to those teams, they lost because they weren't as good.
Yeah.
This year, my expectations were a lot higher, and they are not. They didn't play well.
So you fired the
that makes me the
coordinator.
frustrated. Yeah, they had to fire somebody because that's kind of the way it seems to work these days. Buffalo Bills did the same thing. They fired their offensive coordinator after the game the other night. So somebody had to go. But for Penn State, a couple more wins. They'll be 10-2, and they'll be headed to a New Year's 6 game, but they will have lost to the same 2 yet again.
James Franklin now 4-16 against Michigan and Ohio State during his tenure. So that is not very good.
Yeah, but and the thing about it is a lot of people calling for his head and all that. He's got like 8 or 9 more years of his contract extension at about $7 million a year. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Get used to it. Hopefully they can get over that hump, but he's going to be here. They're not going to buy him out like Texas A&M did with Jimbo Fisher for $75 million.
That's right. Wrap it up, Bill. I'm hungry.
Let's do it. Let's thank tonight's special guests, Brooks Kubena and Ed Sirianni, our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgate, PPCC 118 Raz Room, and Dave Lavoie of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Tuesday, November 21st at 7 p.m. See us live on Facebook or on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel, or listen on Google Podcasts as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and go Birds.
Let's do the song. Come on.